talk running shoes. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to running shoes, but I have worn a lot of running shoes in my career. So I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I think about when I'm looking for a running shoe. So first of all, I think about what am I using it for? Is it for trail? Is it for a rail trail? Is it for road? And then what kind of trail is it? Is it a rugged trail? Is it a more smooth trail? So that we can kind of look at all of the options for running shoes. So then next I look at how much stack height do I want and how much drop is there that I want. So when we're thinking about stack height is the amount that it is from the ground to where your foot sits. So it's the cushion that you have in there. And then the drop is the amount that is different from the heel to toe. So if you look at an ultra, this is a zero drop ultra. So there's no difference from the back to the front. It's a zero drop. If you look at this Puma, you can see there's a drop from the back up here to the front, probably about 7 to 8 millimeters. The thing I like to do when I look at running shoes too is to look at the feel. I prefer a shoe that has a little bit more flex to it. So oftentimes when I go to a store, I'm going to check the flex of the shoe. For me, feeling the ground is really important. The higher the stack height, the more I tend to pronate in or roll my foot in a little bit more, which can cause trouble for me later in a race. And then the other thing I like to look at is the weight. So the shoe weight can make a difference when you're going for many, many miles. So I like to go with a lighter weight shoe. Now, everybody is really different in their shoes because of their mechanics, the way you move, your weight, the distances that you're running, and the type of terrain. So it's really hard to get information from another person and think, oh, those are going to be the perfect running shoes for me, because everybody is so different. We move so different and we have different goals. So what I think is really good is to go to a running store that specializes with runners and will actually take some time and analyze you on their treadmill so they can see how you're moving in those shoes. And oftentimes those stores also offer a 30-day trial so that you can go home and you can try them. And if they don't work, you can bring them back. Yes, I've done that before many times, and I always feel like the walk of shame going back to the running store to return shoes. But that's why they do it, is because they want to make sure you have a really good fitting shoe. So for me, also, I like to think about shoes. If I bring them home and I wear them once or twice and I'm feeling things that don't feel quite right, then they're probably not the right shoe for me. Or I guess that would be like the Goldilocks rule, right? So are they just right? That's the ones that you want. So let's look at different kinds of shoes. So when we're talking about trail shoes, you also look at the bottom to see what kind of lugs they have. So you can see the difference between these Ultras and these Brooks Cascadias, pretty similar in the lugs. You can get different types of lugs depending on the kind of terrain that you're going to be running on. So these are a little bit more minimal, but you may want, if you have a really muddy terrain or maybe a more rugged mountainous terrain, you might want to go with some thicker lugs. As far as shoes, you can see I have a couple of different Pumas, and you can really see the difference here. This one is more of a super shoe with the carbon plate, and this one is not. But here you can tell the difference in the stack height. They actually weigh pretty close to the same, even though this shoe looks like it's a little bit heavier. It's about the same. So when we're thinking about carbon plated shoes, this is something I've not really worn a lot, but the research shows that in, let's say, a marathon, you can improve your time between 1 to 3 or 4%, which could be a significant gain. But the caution with the carbon plates is that they work sort of like a lever. So what you give, you get back. So it may be something that causes you some issues, especially if you have any kind of Achilles types things going on, any ankle things, calf things. So oftentimes I advise my athletes to wear them minimally, save them for race day so that we're not running into any kind of injuries. So speaking of that, when we're thinking about what shoes to choose, it comes down to also your mobility. So what kind of range do you have with your ankle? How much can you move that? How much can you move your toes so that you can figure out what shoes are best for you? And when we think about toe space, we also think about the foot and how much toe box room there is. So you can see the Ultras have a little bit wider toe box. This one I think you can tell a little bit more even compared to, let's see, these Pumas. And so when I'm thinking about running a longer race, I often try to size up my shoes so I have space, because oftentimes our feet and our toes swell a little bit when we're out running for a long time. So having that little bit of space can also help you to feel more comfortable. So Well, my main goal when I'm getting a shoe is to put on a pair of shoes and I don't think about my shoes the rest of the time. So typically when I run anywhere from, a 5K to a 100-mile race, I'm not changing shoes. I usually keep the same shoe on the entire race. Now, there are some reasons to change your shoes. I have done it just to get a fresh start. Like my feet were feeling tired, so putting on some new socks and new shoes gave me a little bit of a refresher. Or times where you're going through water crossings or it's raining, that's when I have changed my socks and shoes as well, just to keep them fresh and keep them free of blisters. But the other thing is some people really feel that changing shoes frequently with different kinds of shoes can help us with getting stronger in our ankle and our foot mobility and strength. So that might be something that you consider too, is having a variety of different stacks so that you can be versatile and give different types of simulations to your foot so they get different kinds of adaptations. So wearing that zero drop and then maybe going into a little bit higher stack, giving that Achilles and that calf a little bit of a break, that can kind of switch things up. Another question I get a lot is, how long do you wear your running shoes? For me personally, I'm not tracking them very closely. I more go by feel. So if I start to feel something a little bit off, the first thing I'm going to do is check my running shoes and think, do I need to get a new pair of shoes? You can tell by the wear. If you flip over your shoe and you can kind of look, where are you landing? Are you landing right on that midfoot? What about the inside of your foot? Well, how does that look? Or the outside of your shoe? And kind of really look at those wears, because those are telltale sales of how you're landing on your foot. And it might be something that you need to look at your strength and mobility so you can improve that, to improve that wear pattern. It's something you can show to the running store too. Often they'll look to see what that wear pattern is. The thing I consider with running shoes is I have a high arch and a narrow foot. So I have to make sure I find a shoe that has a nice arch that fits into my high arch, and so that it can be comfortable. One of the things that I do often is what's called a heel lock. So that's where you create a loop at the back of your shoe and then you lace your shoe string through there, and then this kind of snugs it up at that heel so that you are minimizing the slippage. This is something that I frequently do with a lot of my shoes because of having a narrow foot. So for me, when I'm looking for a running shoe, I'm looking at stack height, drop, the weight, and then what my purpose of that running shoe is for. So I hope these are helpful tips in helping you look for different running shoes and some things to think about.